Hi, I'm Justin Snedden from the AR team at Niantic, and today I'm going to walk you through getting started with the ARDK. So the first thing you want to do is head over to the Lightship portal and then select the Downloads section, and after that you can click on the Download ARDK link and also the Download Example Scenes and the ARDK mock environments. We'll use these three things to set up a sample project, and I'll walk you through all of that. While that's downloading, head over to the minimum requirements page and just take note that you need to be using a Unity 2020 LTS version. In previous ARDKs, we were using 2019. We've now upgraded to 2020, so make sure that you have one of those installed. Then if you are using an M1 Mac, please scroll down a little bit and have a look at this troubleshooting link here. You'll see that there's a patch that you need to apply in order to make that work for you on an M1 Mac, so please follow these instructions. The next thing we want to do is head over to Unity and just create a new project. I'm going to use the 3D mobile template. That's my starter. You can use any of the templates that you like. This one is just quite close to what we'll be doing, so I'll start there, and I recommend that you do too. I'm going to call my project Getting Started. You can name it anything you'd like. So create that project. Wait for Unity to load up. And now that Unity is loaded, the first thing we want to do is import those packages that we downloaded. So select Import Package, Custom Package, and then select the ARDK package that you downloaded and just hit Open. You'll get a pop-up window, just say Import All when that comes up, because we want everything. Once that's done, we import the next one. So Import Package, Custom Package, select the Examples package, Import Open, and then click Import because we want everything. And again, once that one is completed, we'll bring in the last package. This will take a moment. And yep, again, Import Custom Package and select the mock environments. Now that you've got all of the packages imported, we can have a look at what's in there. So if you click on Examples and you scroll down to Contextual Awareness, you can open one. We'll start with the depth example. So just open this scene. And you'll see there's some stuff running in the editor. Press play and you can see it running. Now, when you do run this the first time, it's going to be a bit odd because it won't show you anything. Even if you click Show Depth, it's just blank. And that's because there's nothing in the scene. There's no camera feed. And what we can do is set up some mocking in order to make this work in the editor. So yep, stop running and I'll show you how to import things. So what you'll need to do is go to this ARDK menu here, launch Virtual Studio. Grab this and dock it somewhere. I tend to just put it next to the inspector here. And then what you'll do is click on the mock button, and that's to tell the system we want to do mocking. There's a drop down here that you can select some of the scenes. So the package we imported had 2 scenes in it. Let's go with the living room scene for this. So select living room. Then, if we go and run this, we should get some geometry injected into the scene. So if we hit play again, now you can see that there's this room in the background. And if we press Show Depths, you can see now it's generating the depth for that, and the little plumb bob is being placed in the right location on top of the mock geometry, which means the scene is working as intended. We can now stop this, and we could also take a look at some other examples. So let's go over to the segmentation example. So just click on Segmentation and then open that scene. And if we run this one, the geometry will be injected again from the living room. And if we press the Change Channel button, some of this has been marked up already. So as you can see here, when I select the ground, it's highlighted the ground in the same way that it would work when it is running on the camera, which is quite neat. And then again, you can see that it has selected the foliage when I've selected foliage. There will be a more in-depth tutorial on the mocking system itself. I'm not going to go into that right now. But what I will show you next is how to set everything up to run on device. Before I explain how to get everything working on Android or iOS, if you're going to use any of the networking features, you'll need to add a license key. You'll occasionally get a warning or a message down here saying you don't have the ARDK license key added, and it'll ask you to add a file and put in the string. So if you go back to the Lightship dev portal and you go to your dashboard, if you've already got a key, that'll be there. It'll say license keys, and there'll be one that you can copy. If you haven't, there's a section that says create key. So just add in your app name, hit create key, and it'll generate one. Now, the way that you add it is you create a folder called resources. And then inside that folder, you make another one called ARDK. And then inside this one, you go to the create menu, you go to ARDK, and you say make a ARDK auth config. So you'll have this file here. And just in this file, when we look at it in the inspector, it just needs you to paste that key here. So the key that you generate on the portal, just grab it, put it into here. Once you've pasted that in there, the warning messages about not having the auth config set up will go away. Once you add in the ARDK auth config, if you do get this error down the bottom that's saying there are multiple of them, it's due to the fact that there's a second one in the examples package. Hopefully by the time you use this, that'll have been removed. So just simply click in here and search for them. If you type auth, you'll just see that there's two. And just delete the one that is in the examples package here. So just delete this one. And then that error will go away. When building for Android, you just need to make sure that you have set up your camera permissions. So you do that with a script here. This Android permission request a script. It has an array in it, so you can set this to as many as you need. And just select the one that is appropriate for your application. At a minimum, you're going to need the camera. On all of our examples, that's already there. So just make sure when you're making your own that you have added this script when working with Android. Otherwise, when you go to run it on the phone, you may get a blank screen because you're not asking for the camera usage permission correctly. Okay, to set up for Android, the first thing you want to do is select from the file menu, build settings. And then in this menu here, just select Android and click on switch platform. And once that's done, we can go and click on the player settings button. And from here, we just need to set up some things. Make sure your company name is correct and that your version number is what you want it to be. So just change these as needed. Then you want to remove Vulkan. It may not work on some devices, so we just recommend in your first one to remove it. Then scroll down a little bit further and we just need to make a few more changes. So the first one is making sure that you set the minimum API level to at least 10. We also recommend that you set the target API at the same time to the same number, so also set that to 10. We've had reports where sometimes it's gotten confused on device where it's tried to select a slightly too high target by default, so we recommend you to set both at the same time. Now, the next thing that you will need to change is the scripting backend. So change it from mono to IL to CPP. And then also go down and make sure that you're building for ARM64, not ARM7. The last thing to change is the compatibility. Make it .NET 4.x rather than 2. And with that done, you've set up everything you need to build on Android. So when you come back to the build settings, now we can just press the build and run button or Control B in order to begin building our product. It'll ask you for some names, so we just want to make a folder called builds. Actually make a folder, sorry, that's the name of the file. Click new file, folder, call this builds, hit create, and then save, and it'll save the temporary files into that folder. So just hit save. Make sure that you have actually plugged in your Android device and that you've set it to developer mode and also enabled USB debugging so that Unity can deploy to that device. And then it will launch. I've just comped in the footage from my phone here so that you can just see that it is actually working. And then we run the segmentation example. It is segmenting the ground. And now you have something running on Android. So now to build for iOS, we just go back into the build settings and we switch the platform to iOS. So click switch platform. And then open the player settings. You'll need to set up your signing certificates for Apple. So just put in your details here. I'll do mine off screen. So you just need to fill in the right things here. You need to fill in the camera description for the permission system on iPhones. So just write in here required for AR. You may get, when you're building it may ask you about location. If it does, just do the same thing. And once you've done that, the only other setting that is again recommended is that this says 4 rather than 2. And we should now be in a good place. Remember, you have to fill in this signing ID. So now that we've done all the settings changes to get it to work on iOS, we can hit Control B or press the build and run button to rebuild this for iOS. You may get a pop-up asking to overwrite some files. Just say yes to that. It's because we had previously built for Android, meaning that it's just writing some more setup files in the same folder. If you want to be more critical about it, you could make an iOS builds and an Android builds folder if you need to inspect those files at any point. But for this purposes of this demo, that doesn't matter. Yet you might get a few access things like this. Just say OK. In my case, I also got this install prompt from Xcode because it looks like there's just something that it's decided I needed to install during the recording of this demo. So I just clicked OK, and then I'll just off-screen put in my password to let it update. And then obviously once that's done, I'll jump back in and it'll continue building. Okay, now it's launching on device, so you'll get a pop-up, which you just say allow because it's just asking to use the camera. Once it's running, you can hit the change channel button, and there you go. We're segmenting the ground, and everything is working in ARDK. And that was really easy to do. I'm going to show you one more thing. We're at the end of the tutorial, so you can feel free to stop listening now. But I'll show you a few neat things in the examples and how to set it up so that you can run all of the examples rather than just one at a time, which is quite useful. Let's quickly go back into Unity, and we'll just add a few things. The examples package, when you look at it, there's a whole bunch of them in here. There's very many different demos that we're showing. What we have, though, is this thing called the scene selector. If you go to your build settings and you go to add, what projects do you want to add? If we add this one as the first one, so just open it and then go build settings, add that open scene. Any other one that we add after this is essentially a menu. So it'll build a menu at the start, and for all the other scenes that are in here, it'll add a button to launch them, and you can jump in and out of them in the same session. So put this one in first, and then go through and whatever other examples you wanted to look at. So in this case, we looked at the depth one, and we looked at the segmentation one, but you could happily add more. So you can add the game board one and Pong or any of these other demos that you're interested in. And basically what you're going to see, so I should actually do that if we go back to the build settings here. And so we add this open scene, and then we go to the segmentation one, settings, add this open scene. So now we've got 2 that we can select from, and I'll add the game board one in just for the sake of it. When you run this on device again, you'll get a menu. So I'll quickly do that and fast forward so that you can see it. So if you ever get this when you're running and it says any device here, for some reason Xcode just didn't detect your phone. So just make sure you select whatever your phone is called, and then just hit build again. It happens to me every now and then. I don't know why that is. It's an Xcode thing, nothing to do with ARDK. So now this is launching on the phone again. So I'll just bring in the window here so you can see it. And now you can see we've got a menu, and I can pick from the different things. So if I go depth, it'll launch the depth demo. And you can see the little plumb bob moving around in the real world there, which is very neat. And you can show your depth camera and see the depth of the world. To get out of this menu, you do a multi-finger tap. So it's a 5-finger tap on the screen, and it goes back to the menu. So now that you're at the menu, you can pick one of the other demos. So we can go into that semantic segmentation one and do the same thing again where we said segment the floor. Same thing again if you want to get out of this demo, 5-finger tap back to the menu, and then we can launch this game board one. This one requires you to press run AR first. Game board does world navigation, which is pretty cool. So you can place a little Yeti in the world and ask him to move around. And yeah, so that is now the actual end of this demo. I just thought it was useful to add that little bit of extra information around the examples package and how to use that scene selector, because it's quite useful, because you make one application with all of our examples in it, and then you can play with them all on the phone at once. So thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this tutorial.